Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Doctors of Running podcast, where we, a group of doctors of physical therapy, discuss the art and the science of the things that we are putting on our feet. Today, we have myself, David Solis, and we have Dr. Matthew Klein, the founder of Doctors of Running. And today, we have a little bit of a different episode. I kind of feel like it goes along the same line and vein as the buy-sell episodes. It's a little bit of a kind of a pro-con type of thing. And we're going to be talking about the best and the worst things that we see from respective companies. So this might get a little bit spicy. But before we get into that, how are you doing, Matt?
Doing good. I'm excited for this. We ready to do some what's on our feet?
Yeah, man. So this is, as always, powered by Skratch Labs. So we're going to be talking about what's on our feet and what we're testing. What do you got?
So I've got some interesting stuff. The big one that I have quietly been doing is I have the Hoka Rocket X Trail, and I actually almost have 100 miles on these. So not only going to hit up a written review on this, but I almost have 100 miles, and the outsole is actually doing quite well. That's probably because I've kept it to only trail, which is great. Lots of trail miles, pushing a stroller. But this has been really good. My only caveat is this shoe fits about a half size small for the first 50 miles or so. Then things start to open up, but I've also been wearing really thin socks. The Adidas, they're called super light socks, which I get on Amazon. It's like a 6-pack for $15. It's been really great for this. But yeah, it's great. Just have started getting a couple more pairs if I'm wearing through older socks and having to transition. But it's been a solid shoe. It's definitely one of the true super trail shoes out there. I think a lot of other shoes have definitely tried and kind of hit the mark, or kind of missed the mark in terms of being kind of heavy, clunky. You know, the Asics, their version was just a little bit too stiff, and it was rolling, but I just never got into a groove with that. The only other exceptions to that was Puma, which is great. It wasn't quite stable enough, and Adidas, their shoe also is definitely super shoe, but just not quite stable enough. What I like is this is probably the only true lighter super trail shoe that is actually stable neutral. It does a really great job. It has been phenomenal. So hoping to have that review come up pretty soon.
Question for you.
Yeah. It does fit a half size small though, so people consider a half size up if you're doing long distances.
This is not at all what it was intended for, but could you run a road race in it?
Oh, you absolutely could. You absolutely could. Yeah. I did a track workout in this yesterday, and it did phenomenally.
Is that your stable super shoe?
Not the no.
Dang.
It's stable super shoe for the that's not its full intended purpose.
No, it's not at all. Closest. But
yeah, it might be one of the closest. If you gave me a lighter version of this in the Rocket X3, I'd be really happy, because the Rocket X3 to me, I felt like even though it's sub-millimeter drop, it just feels too aggressive. It actually feels a lot lower, and just give me that traditional wide platform. That's all I'm asking for. But yeah, maybe for somebody, but I wouldn't suggest this because you are going to tear through the lugs pretty quick. So I've really tried to avoid the road for that reason.
I will say though, given your mechanics and everything, if you hold that shoe up again one more time for the viewers, that's his left foot. I barely see anywhere on that posterior lateral heel from here. That looks insane. Normally that thing is clean off, by 40 miles. So
that's what happens when you only use them for trail.
So do you only scuff your heel on the road?
I think you don't get as much friction, right? Because I'm running on bark dust and soft dirt. So trail shoes tend to last forever for me until I take them on road. And I've really, really avoided being on road with these, and it's done great.
Nice.
So maybe I should just stick on trail.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well,
speaking of road, though, the other shoe I've been getting miles on, and
we gotta upload that video as a reel.
I'm gonna upload that. But the Asics 2014. I don't know how else to say this, but I'm getting to 100 miles, and I hate this shoe. But I'm going to do it because I know it's very popular, and I'm going to get this, even though I'm pretty sure this shoe gave me Achilles tendinopathy. Because just the way the heel is so clunky. Version 13 and 12 were great. This just took a massive step backwards with they decreased the bevel. There's posterior flare. It stinks. And then the way the uppers is designed, it's stiff and it digs into your Achilles. It's it is positioned more anterior, and it was terrible until I finally decided, you know what? I'm going to do what I did in college, and I'm literally going to cut this in half. And for the viewers who can actually see this, and we'll upload the video because I took it. I took a buzzsaw and buzzed the Achilles tab in half, and that actually made it a lot better. So it's no longer digging into my heel. It's still clunky, but it solved a lot of the issues. So I'm going to get that review, and I'll complain about it. If you land like midfoot forward, you're going to be fine. If you're a heel striker, this is rough. So those are my two really big ones right now that we can talk about and review at the moment. So yeah, causing carnage, and then others, and then some other ways things are lasting longer than you would expect.
You know, it honestly really surprises me that we've gone this long with Doctors of Running and we have not had a video of one of us sawing a shoe. Whether it be a half or just a piece or whatever, like doing something crazy with.
I'm probably going to start doing that again. For those who like the OGs may have heard me talk about this like during our first few episodes, but I was in college. I was working at running stores and very lucky that I had lots of product then, but I would cut stuff. I would take shoes, modify them, cut them in half, and I used to cut heel counters and heel tabs like that all the time. So I was like, I was going to do this. So I used to modify shoes all the time. And once I ran through them, I wanted to know what was inside. So I'd cut them in half. And yeah, I wasn't doing reviews. I was just curious. And my roommates in college thought I was insane. And that's kind of true. But, you know, that's a different story.
Would you ever do any of the slits in the forefoot? I know a lot of people will do that to kind of help with volume.
I did not. I did try that once and I ruined the shoe. So I didn't try that again.
It's risky business for sure. Like I feel like you could easily start a hole that could start expanding in the not so distant future from doing that.
I did that with a pair of Pegasus, which back in that time I was like into my minimalist days. I didn't want to run with anything higher than a 4mm drop. So I cut the heels down and I was like, okay, this is better, even though it was clearly not. It was asymmetric and probably causing all kinds of issues. And then I was like, I can open the toe box more. And then I cut it and I did it just wrong. And a lot of the upper separated from the shoe. And so it's just hanging there. And I'm like, my foot would like slide out. I'm like, I can't run
that's
this.
not
so
good.
I just destroyed this shoe.
Well,
so yeah,
I'll get into what I have on my feet that we'll be getting out, but I can only say so much about these. We've got the Mizuno Prototype Pure. I can pretty much only say that they exist.
Yep.
And will exist in December. Also, we've got the Mizuno Prototype Elite. Also exists. And the Prototype Pro. You can probably guess they're all going to be super shoes.
Yep.
That's about all I can say at this time. So that's what I've got on my feet right now. Yep. And that's what we're doing some testing. We want to make sure we get out some good reviews in December when we can actually talk more about them. But as of right now, you know, they're coming and they're fun for what it's worth. And yeah, that's about all I can say. So
yeah, we'll have some interesting conversations about those shoes. Some interesting stuff happening.
For sure.
Recovering from an injury can take really intentional ways to return to your running, and sometimes that means decreasing the amount of stress on your body. The lever movement system is something that I have used as a physical therapist with patients and also used personally when I have been returning from injuries or guiding people in their return back, because it can offload some of the stress that the body takes with running, allowing you to do a really intentional and sequential return without overloading the tissues. One of the great parts about it is that it's a completely mobile device and it can be connected to pretty much any treadmill. And the affordability is so low, I've had multiple patients be able to purchase it on their own, where sometimes offloading systems can cost tens of thousands of dollars. The lever movement system actually starts under $1,000. And so if you are looking to try to find a way to continue to return back to running smart, or just to manage some of the little niggles that come along with running, but keep your running volume, I would take a look at the lever movement system. So if you want to learn more, you can go to levermovement.com. And if you end up purchasing, you can get 20% off using the code DOR20.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll get into everything that we're talking about today, and that's going to be the best and the worst thing from each respective company. And we'll go through as many as we can. We'll keep an eye on the time here, but I'm going to start off with one, and it's probably the biggest running company in the industry right now, and that's over in your backyard. That's Nike. So what would you say is the best and the worst thing that Nike is doing, or trends that you see right now?
Yeah, I think the best thing, and they've been known for this for a while, is their racing shoes are second to none. right? Like the Alpha Fly, Vaporfly. The Vaporfly 4 wasn't my favorite, but I will say that my wife has a pair from Andrea and she's loving them. And, their spikes, their racing shoes, like they continue to be top tier. They don't update things very, very often, but they don't always have to, just because, they have the performance behind a lot of stuff. And there's a reason why a lot of people run in their stuff over a variety of distances. I'm getting a little bit more excited with where their trainers are going, but I think one of the negatives is that their trainers often lag quite a bit behind where the performance level of their racing shoes. And that's been consistent since I was working in running stores. So like the Pegasus, for example, it's an okay shoe. I think a lot of people, as a beginner, that might be a decent option, but as they progress, it's pretty boring. And I mean, like Pegasus of old actually used to be pretty exciting and pretty solid shoes. Recently, I just feel like they haven't kept up very well. Durability has not been very good for me. The fit's kind of awkward, the awkward transition. Pegasus Premium was, I feel like, more of a fasten shoe, and it wasn't executed well. Vomero is a different story, where I think the Vomero line has stayed pretty consistent, like a solid shoe. Like if you're going to get a Nike trainer, get a Vomero. They've been good decent for a long time. Not the sexiest, but definitely decent for a long time. The Vomero Plus is probably one of my favorite Nike trainers in I don't know how long. The structure is super boring, and there's so much that could be done with that shoe. Maybe I'm really biased, and I would love to actually know that the Structure Plus and Premium may exist. I have no idea, but we have not tried the Vomero Premium yet, and we'll have to, hopefully it does a better job than I think the Pegasus Premium. But it's their daily trainers really lag behind where their racing shoes do, and I'd love to see them like bring those performance the training shoes up to that level. There's some hints that things are getting better. I think there's just some more work that has to be done, and maybe that's just David. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think that's great. It's funny because I'm actually going to be on the flip side of it. And for me, I think the best thing that's happening at Nike right now is that Nike trainers are back. People are talking about them again. Like you said, in the past, people didn't really care about the Nike trainers. And it's like, I feel like the Pegasus had kind of a heyday, like where people were using it for workouts, training, long runs, even racing sometimes, like for marathons and whatnot. And then they kind of just got flat, and they just weren't doing a whole lot. I can't really tell you what happened between Peg 32 and 41, like it kind of just became meh. But looking beyond the Pegasus lineup, like they've now expanded. And like you said, you brought up the Vomero Plus. I've got it right here. Like it's a solid shoe and it's a fun one. And I think it's one of those shoes that you can easily put in a conversation as one of the better trainers of the year.
Yep.
And I mean, people like the Vomero as well. And from what I've heard, people don't seem to dislike the structure from what I've seen, but I don't know. I feel like people are starting to talk about Nike trainers again. And I don't know. I guess I'll get into my worst thing, which is kind of a funny segue because it is also resembling of the trainer line. And that is going to be this 3-tier system that they're doing. Where it's like, I don't know if that necessarily has to be there, right? Like you have a Vomero Plus, Vomero Premium, a Peg Plus, a Peg Premium, a Structure Plus, a Structure Premium. And then you also got a Zoom Fly. You also got like, I don't know, like you've got multiple trainers, things that are out there. And I don't know if every shoe needs to have that much of a tier system. I think I understand the 2-tier a little bit more, where it's like, this is kind of the base model. This one is kind of the more premium option, whether it's lighter, faster, or it's more plush and absorbs a little bit more shock. The third one feels a little silly, where it's like, we're going to toss an AirPod in the middle of it and call it a premium. And that might not be true because I have had different experiences, let's say in the Peg Premium versus the Peg. I didn't get to run in the Peg Plus, but I can almost guarantee you that the Peg Plus and the Peg Premium are going to feel very different from each other. But it feels like it's getting a little out of hand. I think like just a little bit more direction on that, because from a consumer standpoint, you're like, okay, well, which one am I going to buy? It's like, well, do I buy the premium? Because that's supposed to be the best one of the 3 based on naming, like that is the nice one, quote unquote. So I feel like I'm getting lost a little bit on the lineup. With that said, though, the best thing that's going on over there, people are talking about them, right? Like the trainers are coming out, like people, they're not negative reviews. They're not people being like, oh, these are boring. It's this, it's that. It's like, no, they're solid shoes that are coming out. And I think they're getting their name back in it for daily trainers. But yeah, you had your hand up. What's up?
I'm going to say you are right. I think the line diversification is getting a little bit crazy. I can still see some, like I would say the Nike Zoom, is it Zoom Fly? Zoom Fly 6?
Plated,
yeah. So the Nike Zoom Fly 6 is kind of like the Pegasus Mirror. It's like it's your entry level, like, okay, this, you're just getting into this. This is a more, not a simple shoe, but like kind of more straightforward. And then you have your premium, which in the racing line would be the Alpha Fly, right? Then you have your kind of more lighter version, which is going to be the Vaporfly. And then you have the Streak Fly too, which is also really solid and kind of in a unique space as a fourth level down. But I kind of see where they're going, where they have like, hey, if you're just getting into running, like you should really try the entry level stuff just to like experience this. And some of like even more experienced runners are going to like them as well. But then if you want something a little bit lighter, a little more sexier, although the Pegasus Plus needs some work, because those of us who ran the Pegasus, am I calling it that right? Pegasus Plus, or what was the old version?
I didn't get the old version. I think you're thinking of
how am I forgetting this?
Is it Peg Turbo?
The Peg Turbo. How can I forget this? I just had a conversation with the patient.
Yeah.
The Peg Turbo line, it's the Plus is not quite where it needs to be. Like, give us some more bouncy Zoom X. It's not the same. But like, I kind of get it. We're like, okay, you like the Pegasus or you like the Vimero, but you want something a little lighter, a little bouncier. That makes sense, right? Or you just want this, if you're into that crazy max stack height, you can go up to the premium if that's something you're interested in. I'd be really curious to see how these are selling. I maybe am holding on to this with the great hope that Nike's going to be one of the few companies that actually drop some interesting stability shoes. Because usually most companies don't have that many. And so to have a structure, which it could be better, but then to have a structure plus, to me is like, oh, I'm really excited. I hope they don't screw this up. But then the other end, having a max like stability shoe, I'm really curious to see what that looks like. It might be redundant because, to be honest, a lot of Max shoes, not all of them, tend to inherently be stable just because you've got to have large sidewalls, you've got to have a wide platform. But that's not always the case. So maybe I'm biased. I see them trying to organize this, but I think the challenge is then there becomes so many options that people may get lost. But hey, I'm not a marketer. I don't design these things, but what do you think? Does that make sense? Or am I just trying to justify the stability line?
That makes a lot of sense. And I think for me, the 3-tier system makes a lot of sense when you said it in the Vaporfly terms, where the flagship is in the middle. You want lighter and faster, you go down a step. You want more premium, you go up a step. But I think where I get a little bit lost is where the flagship is the bottom tier. And then you go up 2 tiers. I'd almost like to see where like the base is like, let's say some kind of a Winflow or Peg equivalent, like kind of the budget, just this is your neutral trainer. It's a step down from the baseline. And then the baseline can be, let's say the Peg Plus or Turbo or whatever. And then you have your premium. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it should be a noticeable step up or down, depending on which model you're on. And different experiences that reflect that. And I get where they're going with it. I'm not but I'm being picky. I feel like Nike's doing a lot of things well. With that said, I don't really love the classification system, but it could work. It could work. So I'm glad that you brought up the Vaporfly there, because most people would just think, oh, racing Vaporfly. And it's like, well, there's the Streak Fly and there's the Alpha Fly, right? Like, and they have very different experiences. So.
And technically the Zoom Fly 6 is part of that conversation, as it meant like as a racer trainer. So like, and a lot of people have actually done quite well using that shoe as a marathon racer. And I think that's where a lot of people should be, but that's a different conversation.
Yeah. All right. We'll go on to the next.
Sweet. Who's next?
Next one's going to be another American company. We're going to be talking about Brooks.
Got it.
Also not that far from you.
Not
Am I
that
just
far
staying in the Pacific Northwest?
We got a lot
by design.
A lot of people in the Pacific Northwest. Actually, I got to give a shout out to a couple people who actually live in the Lake Oswego area, who work at Brooks and commute all the way up to Seattle several days a week and come back down. So shout out to Brian and many others who I know do this. And that's crazy. That's a long drive, but good for you. And Brooks must be a great place to work if you're willing to do that. But do you want me to start?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So here's what I like about, I'm going to give a couple things that I like about Brooks. I like that they do typically pay attention to biomechanics. And maybe I'm biased because I know some of their biomechanics people and I give Evan and Jen a really hard time all the time. But I like that they're thinking with that in mind. I also like that on some level, for a lot of recreational runners, these are actually really solid shoes. They are not the sexiest. They are trying, right, Tina's trying, and others are trying to get some like newer foams and kind of more aggressive geometries in there. And I'm seeing it. So I do appreciate that. And I do appreciate that things are evolving. We are starting to actually see some real heel bevels. Finally, it's not at like even the Adrenaline now has a better heel bevel, is a better transition, which is awesome. And they're really trying with some things and trying to, the look is looking better, but biomechanically things are starting to get more appropriate. My only challenge for them is the exact opposite of Nike, is just the racing line just is not there. And I can somewhat understand that because a lot of the people that buy the Brooks consumer isn't often, they're like, I'm going to get a super shoe kind of thing. I would though, of all people though, I think what I'm most disappointed in is the Hyperion Elite 5. Yeah, it's light. It's using a Puma foam, but I would say this is one of the most unstable racing shoes I maybe have ever tried. And I think that's really disappointing from Brooks. I'm still running it and I'm still trying to get miles on it. The uppers are okay, but like this midfoot does not work. And I was really hoping for something stable that integrated some of the older Hyperion Elites just with the super foam. I didn't try the 4 PB, so I have no idea. But I just feel like geometry-wise, what they're doing racing-wise, there's still a lot of work to be done. So it's like the exact opposite of Nike. But there's also some issues where even some of the trainers, like the Brooks, the Glycerin Max, awesome shoe, right? And that's maybe my bias, but a lot of the other trainers are a little boring, right? And so that's fine for the right person. But I think, even the Adrenaline is kind of falling behind a little bit in terms of that performance category, but it's not meant for that. So I understand where Brooks is going is their traditional consumer isn't going to be looking for the fastest ride, which I understand they're going that way. I just want them to do a little bit more with some of their midsole foams and stop trying to oversell like some of the, what's it called? The DNA loft and stuff like that, where it just like, even though some variations of it do really well, other times like, man, this is just a boring shoe, but that can be great for other people. So trainers, consistent, great. Their biomechanics are getting better. I'm learning from them. It's really awesome to see that. Some of the faster stuff and the performance just needs some serious work. And I don't know why they're doing the midfoot cutouts. And I think for a company that does stability usually pretty well, that might need some work, and maybe it's in the works, but yeah, performance needs some work.
Yeah, I'd have to say that I'm pretty similar on this conversation. I've got a couple of just notes jotted down here on my side, and I feel like they've done a good job of staying true to their mainline trainers. I feel like the Ghost has continued to do well. The Glycerin has continued to do well. The Adrenaline, the Glycerin GTS isn't too bad. What's that? What are you holding up? That's the Ghost, right? Yeah.
I actually have to eat my words a little bit because the new Ghost is pretty aggressive. Like I've done workouts of this shoe. The heel counter is a little aggressive for my sensitive heel and the volume's really low, but like this turned into like a performance trainer for me. So I guess I have to kind of eat my words and go, I know it's coming. It's also pretty stable. Like I prefer this,
it's super stable.
Yeah. I
for a neutral shoe. Yeah.
Like over the Adrenaline. But like it's snappy. It's got some like aggressiveness to it. So I will say that I hope it's coming. I see it. It just needs to happen. But sorry, not to interrupt you.
No, you're good. I think that's solid. I mean, like their main line of trainers, I think are all good and they've gotten better, right? Like I think they're a lot less quote unquote boring than they used to be.
Yeah.
I think the shoes have some life, but they still hold that traditional DNA and we're seeing it, I think with the Ghost and the Glycerin especially. Like just new shoes, even though they're similar, like they still feel like Ghosts and Glycerins, but leveled up. So I think it's good. I think the updates are solid. Where I feel like they're a little bit lost is that performance line. I do feel like one shoe that I was really excited for, and I mean really excited for it, and it just was heartbreaking. Actually, there was two of them. I only have one of them next to me now that I think about it. One was the Hyperion lineup. That was actually not where I was going with this though, but I love Hyperion 2, Hyperion 2 GTS, Hyperion 3. It just kind of gained a little bit more foam And it just like, it felt like it went closer to being a daily trainer without being as fast and not being as smooth as other daily trainers. And then it kind of just got lost in my rotation where I just didn't really find myself wanting to grab it, which was heartbreaking for me because I love the Hyperion 2 and GTS 2 GTS. Like, could rip it on the track and go for runs. Like, it was that lightweight, snappy shoe. The other one too, I actually did like the Hyperion Max 2 quite a bit. I felt like it was a stable, neutral ride. It was a really rockered ride, but it was responsive. It was light. Like, it did a little bit of everything well without being a master at anything. And that was kind of what I wanted out of like a long run shoe, right? And then they came out with the Hyperion Max 3. And this was one of the ones where I really struggled with this shoe. And I can see the vision where the DNA Gold, like the foam is lively, the shoe is more quote unquote fun, but I cannot run in this thing for that long. Like, I just feel like the upper is really stretchy. I do not do well with the medial and lateral stability on this shoe, especially on cambered roads. And like, I wanted to love it. I was trying to give it every chance I could. And I was like, no, like my ankles hurt after running in this shoe. And you probably compressed the crap out of that posterior lateral heel, and it feels really stable for you.
Yeah, it did.
But
That did. I will give them that shoe. It would wear me out. It was a great long run shoe, but man, I was a little messed up after some of the long runs. But that posterior lateral bevel, that was like, see, Brooks, I know you can do this. I can, despite what just happened with the Hyperion Elite 5, like, I know you have the capacity. But can I rant for a second?
Yeah.
Okay, Brooks, how can you discontinue the Hyperion GTS series and then make your racing shoe like the most unstable one out there? Like, come on. Like, the people want a Hyperion GTS 3. You finally got rid of it, like the launch
here's
GTS.
A thought bubble. Hyperion GTS Elite or Pro. Toss a plate, make a performance, give you the super stability shoe that you've been asking for.
Like,
all in one package.
Hyperion Elite GTS, please do it. Be the ones that finally put out a stability super shoe, even if it's a joke. Even if it's like, we made 10 of these, we just made one, right? Just like we custom made this and not in Matt's size just to give him a heart attack, but like just to know that it was made. Just tell me, like, send me a photo of this. I won't share it, but just even pretend, like, make it up. Just it would be amazing.
Just send him some concept art.
Yeah, just send me a concept art so I can cry, but know that you thought about it. Please. All right.
We'll move to the next one. Next one is they've been around for a while now, but they were one of the fastest growing companies in the industry. This is going to be Hoka. Best and worst things going on at Hoka.
All right, so I have to give them credit as being OGs in kind of the taller Max shoe game. They definitely know how to market really well, and a lot of people, Hoka is the Kleenex of maximal running brands, right? Like, they do their stuff well. I like where they're going with their racing lineup. They are definitely getting aggressive and they're holding on really well. I did not necessarily like this yellow X1 version 2. I know a lot of people that have. The Rocket X3 is still stable neutral, and man, that's an aggressive fast shoe. I ran a pretty fast stroller 5K in that shoe on a hilly course. So I gotta appreciate that quite a bit. And their track spikes are looking awesome. Like, I've been bugging Nathan going, I don't know if my Achilles can handle this, Val, but I'm really curious in some of the Cielo LD spikes. And it looks like that they actually might have some like medial support in them. So racing lineups doing really, really well. Some of the challenges is I feel like geometry and durability wise, a lot of their trainers are not doing well. Like, for me, again, I scuff shoes through shoes really hard. Clifton and a lot of other ones, the Iraqi, the geometries just are not working for me very well. The where they're placing their bubbles, like, if you're going to have this, it should be either centered or should be a little bit lateral. If you put a medial bevel on a really tall shoe, that just creates like a lot of lateral flare. It's going to jam you inwards. And these are supposed to be some of the more inherently stable neutral rides, but a lot of times I haven't felt that with a lot of recent Hokas just because of how some of their geometry is setting up. And then durability, like, yeah, they're keeping them light, but the outsole durability is usually not that good. And a lot of times, unless they're putting a little bit of the Puma foams in there, their EVA foams compress so quick that it's just like, we're very lucky to get these shoes for free. But if I was paying for these, I would be really disappointed. And I've heard a lot of people complain going, I have to break up with Hoka because I just can't afford to replace the shoes that often. That's kind of disappointing for a company that has typically so much stack height underneath. But I do like that, again, they're racing line. Val, you're pushing the envelope on this stuff. It's great. It's really exciting to see that getting pushed. I love that a lot of their shoes, not all of them, in the training line tend to be a little bit more inherently stable neutral, which is great. But just geometry and durability, I think, needs some work. That when you have a shoe this tall, the bevel's got to be in the right place. If not, it just makes for clunky heels. And Clifton, Bondi, Skyflow, a lot of these shoes, that heel has just not been good for me. So yeah. Also, another like partially local to both of us is they have their right situation in Santa Barbara and also in downtown Portland too. So,
yeah, I think for me, best thing going on there, I think they're having a lot of fun just with their innovation and materials. I think they are coming out with some fun shoes, whether it be in the Mach X lineup or in the racing categories with the Cielo X1 2.0 and the Rocket X3, Rocket X Trail, like you had brought up earlier. Like, I think like there's a lot of good things going on there, and I think they're not afraid to take some chances and kind of see how it goes. So I think there's a lot of fun going on there. And I think it's funny because I kind of go back to the trainers. I think I was kind of hoping we'd have different thoughts on these things, but I feel like we're kind of similar. I feel like in the worst thing, which is also their best thing, oddly enough, too, from a general market standpoint. And I look at mainly the Clifton and the Bondi, and I feel like from a product standpoint, they're starting to just kind of get left behind a little bit. Like you were saying, the EVA foams are like, not that the EVA is bad, but it's just like the blend that they use, it breaks down pretty quick. It's like, it's kind of the same shoe it was for, several years ago. And at the same price point, a lot of these companies have high stack rockered shoes that perform the same, if not better than those shoes. And I think it was nice that they put a supercritical EVA in the Bondi this year. I felt like that was a noticeable upgrade. With that said, it still didn't feel quite up to snuff as some of the other high stack rockered trainers out there at the same price point. And so I feel like even though those shoes sell incredibly well, I feel like they're starting to feel like they're not shoes I'm looking at in that category, which is a shame because that was kind of what I knew the company for to begin with, right? Like that's kind of how they made their name. So I don't know, maybe show a little bit more love to the Clifton and the Bondi and make it a little bit more fun or make it a little bit more durable. Like give the people a reason to be like, oh no, like I'm staying with this line and I'm not going to go to like, let's say a Nimbus or I
was literally just thinking the Nimbus and going, like enough companies I think have caught up in the maximal game, but there's companies like, again, there's companies doing plenty of stuff that's taller than Hoka, even though Hoka is still known as the marshmallow cushion brand. In actuality, that's not necessarily the case. I mean, like, thank goodness they have the Skyward X, because if not, everybody else would be towering over them. So yeah, I think it's time. It's like you said, I think it's just refocusing on some of the classics too and giving them some love and not letting them fall behind. But you have to also be really careful is that because there are people that have been wearing those for so long, you make a drastic change that can really throw people off. Like let's see if I can pronounce this correctly for the first time ever. The Kayano.
Nope.
No.
Kayano.
It was better than Kayano, which I redid. So Kayano.
Yeah.
Better. Kai. And he's Kai can do this.
Kayano.
The new Kayano is like, it's my shoe of the year. I'm set on this. Version 32 is awesome. I have 200 miles on it. I am looking to buy a new pair.
Shoe of the year.
Yeah. But because of the changes, I can really see how if people that have worn the Kayano for years, it's a different shoe. It's still there in spirit, but it's different with the lower drop, the geometry, like a lot of stuff has changed, but I think it's better, but not everybody's going to agree with me because I don't have the same feet as everybody else. So, with these long-standing lines, it's a hard battle between, do we radically progress forwards or do we give the people what we want? Because a lot of the people, and we both know this, and I think some of our listeners may know this, but we talk about running stuff, but honestly, most footwear companies don't make their profit from runners. They sell most of their running shoes to people who are walking and standing. That's why super shoes are such a anomaly right now is like for the first time ever, racing shoes actually have a decent budget because people actually buy them in good numbers. Nobody used to buy racing flats. Like companies used to lose money on racing flats. The only like people that bought them were like you and I, who were like doing faster racing stuff. That didn't even last that long, but it's like a tiny proportion compared to now. But yeah, there's some understanding behind it. I agree with you. I just want to see those kind of brought a little more forward rather than hopefully not getting left behind.
Yeah. And I think it was really convenient that you brought up the Kayano, because my next company here,
sweet,
fourth company on our list, is going to be Asics. So yeah, what do you got for Asics?
Man, I was really thinking about this all day. I think Asics, just to make sure we start pronouncing things correctly.
No, I asked them. It's a dialect thing, depending on where you are.
Gosh, don't tell me that.
Depending on where you are in the world, people say different things. We can say Asics.
Okay, so it's acceptable. So is it acceptable to be able to say Kayano based on dialectual differences, or I have to
not
say
on that
Kayano?
one? No, okay, Kayano. No. Kayano standard.
Right. Kayano, Kai.
You could say Asics Kayano, or you could say Asics Kayano. But
man. It's terrible.
Depending on where you are, yeah, it can be slightly different.
Yeah, I think for the most part, Asics is killing it. I think they have moved really far forward. They're one of those brands that just people are really interested in. The Kayano has been awesome. That they finally took some chances with it. The Nimbus is really good. I think the Cumulus has made some changes. Not quite where I think it could be, but it has definitely moved forwards. Their racing line is second to none. Hey, we never got to have a pair of the Metaspeed Ray, by the way. You tried one in Japan and they like forgot about us. So like we're the only ones that don't have a full review out there, but I'm complaining about that. I think it's kind of similar to Brooks, where I'm like, I know they do the biomechanics research, and I love that things are getting integrated. Am I pissed off that the Asics GT 2014 took a step backwards, and the thing I talk about, like a heel bevel, like went downwards, and the upper kind of stinks? But you know, that's a one-off. I think for the most part, they are doing extremely, extremely, extremely well moving forwards. I'm trying to think of a negative. Just because I love the Kayano so much. I think my only thing that might be getting troublesome is they have, it's kind of like Nike, where they have so many shoes now. I feel like the Super Blast 2 made sense, kind of like it was an evolution. It wasn't where I would hope it to be. Like it felt like it took a step backwards. And I feel like the Blast series is getting a little bit crazy. We're like, the Sonic Blast really, I get why, but it didn't really take off. The Mega Blast is basically what the Super Blast 2 should have been, but it just needs a better upper. And the line is starting to get bigger. And I don't necessarily know if that's a good thing. Like, it's kind of the same thing with the racing line. Like beforehand, I kind of got the like, okay, there's like two different variations for like how people pick speed up. That kind of makes sense. But like the Metaspeed Ray is now kind of in its own thing. The Magic Speed is getting left behind. Although I've seen I think Magic Speed 5 actually looks pretty awesome, and I hope that come to market. But there may be too many things coming out, and like it's either like master of one or master of none. So it's like, I think it might be getting a little bit too spread thinly, and I don't want to see what happened to the rest of the line that happened to, in my opinion, to the G 2014 and the Sonic Blast, where it's kind of like, that really wasn't where they should be. Like that wasn't a move forwards. You know, you got some great shoes. Just keep that momentum and don't start faltering and take a step backward, because for a long time, Asics was boring, had poor rear foot geometries. They didn't do that. They were not sexy or exciting, and they've taken some big leaps. So I'd say keep the momentum, but also really focus on what you're doing well and try to maintain that. So there is some geometry bumbles happening here, and things getting like, there's, I think, too many options, and think they're getting a little bit too spread thinly. So I think that's my negative. Although I think for the most part, a lot of their footwear is doing quite well, to be honest.
Yeah, I think we just continue to agree with each other. This is very boring. Yeah, I feel like from a material standpoint, they're booming right now. Like they came out with Flight Foam Leap. They came out with Flight Foam Turbo Squared.
Yep.
And like they're playing around with materials, they're getting these different things out there, and people are really excited about it, right? Yeah. I mean, even just from like being entirely objective about this, like when we publish our own content, not that we ride everything on numbers, but when you look at numbers, those shoes along those lineups do pretty darn well when it comes to whether it's clicks or videos, whatever. Like people are excited about these shoes. And And I think it is for good reason. I think they are coming out with a lot of good stuff, and they're playing around with materials. And again, kind of like what I said with like Hoka in their performance division right now, they're not really afraid to take some chances here. And I think it's really showing. I think they're doing a really good job on that category, but I also agree with you that I think the worst thing is this line is just getting more and more muddy. And I actually grabbed a Super Blast and a Mega Blast before coming on to show that, where it's like, if you just like showed me this as a normal consumer, I'd be like, okay, like what's the difference?
Right.
You know? And then like you think about it, it's like, well, this one has Flight Foam Turbo Plus and this one has Flight Foam Turbo Squared. Okay.
Right.
And I look at it from the top, I'm looking at it like the geometry is so similar, you know, and it's like really the big difference is the material, but at the same time, I do feel like the ride it's close enough where I agree with you. I feel like Mega Blast could have been Super Blast 3. It is less stable than the Super Blast 2.
Yes.
I would not say that it is unstable. It's just neutral, right?
Yep.
But the Super Blast 2 was never exactly marketed to be stable to begin with. Right. And I feel like unless they create a differentiation where like this is the stability version and this is the neutral version, then I might be a little bit more on board with it. But I do feel like it's a little bit muddy when you see like, okay, we have our Nova Blast, we have our Sonic Blast, we have our Mega Blast, we have our Super Blast, we have our Magic Speed, we have, you know, like there's a lot of these lightweight trainers. We have our Gel Nusa, right?
Yeah.
Like, they got a lot of shoes, and it's not that they're bad shoes. They're all really good shoes. I think it's just finding a way to kind of line it up in a way that makes sense to the consumers to just know what they're buying. And they're trying. I could see them trying with some of the anime commercials with the Running Warehouse thing and kind of
that was pretty cool. I gotta give
that
credit.
was sick.
Like,
I'm not gonna lie. That commercial was. I've never like watched an ad and like watched it start to finish and be like, dang, that was cold. That was cool.
I'm with you with that. That was pretty cool.
So, but I could see the gears are turning. They're trying, but I feel like it's a little muddy right now, and I just would like to have it be a little bit more delineated. And maybe that's just a personal thing because we get to try so many shoes. I don't know, but they're all good shoes. But I feel like it's muddy right now. That's the word I would use.
They still have some solid options. I think the concern is that like we're starting to see, hey, we're starting to get a little bit muddy here. We hope you're not going down this direction. Like I would say, focus on what you're doing well and make sure you've got good stuff that makes sense. And if there's nothing wrong with innovating and trying stuff, it's just that sometimes, and I say this as someone who does this often, having your foot in too many areas can be like, it can just be overwhelming. It's hard to manage stuff and you can kind of lose the vision. So
yeah,
I get it. Also, can we try the Metaspeed Ray?
Matt really wants the Metaspeed Ray. It's really fun. I honestly would not mind a pair for myself. I think for a 5K, that shoe could really rip. Like,
just give me something that's going to
responsive.
Just give me something that's going to fully avulse my post tip. Like I accept it. Just let me do it.
Flight Foam Leap is so fun. Like just having a full shoe of it is kind of crazy.
I just want to try it because honestly, and I'm going to say, even though I raced in one of the rare races that I've done this year, I raced in the Metaspeed Edge Tokyo, and it was solid. It's for whatever it feels firmer to me because for whatever I don't do very well with dual layer soles. Like I have midsoles. Like I found this where like it feels weird to me to have two foams that compress at different rates. Like that just it feels odd. So I really want to try what a full length Metaspeed Leap feels like because I don't feel like I'm getting the full understanding of what that is because of the two different foams. But that's a me thing. I'm just realizing and I've had this experience a couple times. People are like, it's amazing. And I'm like, I don't feel that. It feels firm. And I think that's because I'm stiffening up and then I'm not experiencing both things together. So
I could see that. Yeah. All right. We're going to move on from Japan to Europe now. We're going to go to Switzerland. So the next company is On. Yeah.
All right. So On. I know you can do this, so I'm going to start with the positives. Some of the best uppers, honestly, like upper fit is usually phenomenal, and I have yet to have that many experiences where that's been proven wrong. I think the Cloud Monster 2 is the only one of the uppers that's given me a little trouble, and once I fixed that, it was mostly fine. It's just the instep was too long, but man, they do uppers super well. Comfortable, great, and a lot of these shoes I've worn for all day stuff. Another exception would be the what was the recent one that you have liked as you've broken it in and I hated?
Cloud Surfer Max.
Yeah, the Cloud Surfer Max was just that upper.
I like that
the
shoe.
Whole shoe. I hate that shoe.
It's not going to be like trainer of the year for me, but I like it.
Yeah.
I think it's a nice travel shoe for me because I like standing and walking around in it. So, and it dresses up decently well. So I can run and walk and
a few exceptions, uppers are phenomenal. The other thing I will say is that when the pods work, it's actually really good. Like the On Cloud Surfer, I believe this is 7, right? 8, whatever version this is. On Cloud Surfer 2.
Well, it's 2. Yeah.
2,
I mean,
even though it's
they never used to do the iterations, but Cloud Surfer 2. You're holding up Cloud Surfer 2.
So when the pods work, they are actually pretty solid, right? And I've actually had this experience with the On Cloud Runner 2, whereas the pods kind of broke in. It's a great kind of more moderate stack height. There's a little softness to it for the people that want a rolling, firmer shoe. It's a little bit better for walking, but when they work, it's awesome. The On Cloud Boom Strike is nuts. Like, I love that shoe. It's insanely bouncy. It's been great. Even though it's not the most stable thing on the market, it did very, very well for me. My biggest complaint though is the majority of their shoes feel like rocks. Like they are so firm underfoot. Like I wear the On Cloud Flyer all the time as a walking shoe just because of that firmness, it's stable. But I've worn that for year and a half plus and like probably have well over 150 walking miles on that shoe and it's still as firm as a rock. So it's like trying to get those, and we've talked about this, trying to make sure those pods work. When they do, it's a home run. The problem is I feel like there's not a lot of them that always do that. And so they're getting better. It's better than it used to be where it was like cloud tech and it just feel like rock tech. It's getting better for sure. And the On Cloud Monster is a great example of a series that knocks this absolutely out of the park in every single iteration. Version 1, version 2. I'm excited to see what happens version 3.
Cloud Monster 1 was my shoe of the year.
Rushes. Yeah.
Cloud Monster Hyper was a runner-up. Yeah.
I just want them to see more frequently having those pods really work as the cushioning thing that they say. But on the flip side of that is that as walking shoes, that firmer rockered ride works really well. And I'm not surprised that people buy them for walking and comfort because they're great. So I can understand that. Just, I want the clouds to work more consistently.
Okay. I think that's good. Mine's a little bit different, though I do agree with the uppers. I feel like the uppers are great. But I think one of the best things that they're doing right now is I think early on, they were sold to this like cloud tech pod design. And each one was kind of a separate kind of line of pod. And I feel like they're starting to play around with geometries more now.
Mm-hmm.
And, so they started moving to like, let's say Cloud Tech Phase, where it's like a one piece thing. It's not a separate, like, they're starting to move away from what they built on initially while still not going so far away from it that they're, uprooting everything. And so I think that's one of the best things I could have done because I think now we're starting to get experiences that feel just a little bit more fluid and less fragmented.
Yep.
They're going to continue to cook. They're going to continue to get better at this. I mean, they're still pretty early into this process.
Relatively.
Yeah. Like when we look at like, let's say Cloud Surfer was the first one, right? And then they had the Cloud Eclipse. And then now they have Cloud Surfer. Oh my gosh.
The Cloud Eclipse was actually pretty good. As I got more miles on that shoe, and maybe that's the thing is they just need to break in. So.
Yeah, but they're getting it down, and then the racing models are also kind of breaking away from that as well. So when we look at any of the Cloud Boom models, so I think they're doing a good job of staying within their DNA without, but changing it up to make a more fluid experience. So I think they're doing a good job there. I think the worst thing they're doing, and it's kind of funny, it's the same thing that I said about Asics, is I feel like there's no delineation. If I'm like a consumer, I have no idea. Like I only know what each shoe is because we're seated them and we research them and we look into this stuff. And even then, sometimes I'm like, is that shoe? Which category is that shoe in? Okay, that falls here. I feel like it's not that clear. So I would challenge just companies in general, I think, to just make it pretty clear what the consumer is buying because what they see is this foam is 10% more responsive. This is the most cushioning that we've ever had in whatever. This is, they get the buzzwords, they get the marketing, they get those things. And then they just think like, oh, this is the best shoe in the market. for every single shoe on the lineup, and so it's like they don't really know exactly like what the differences even are. And like that can be overwhelming, of course. Like there is a tipping point, but I think just having a general category being like, this is our silo for this is our silo for that,
and I think they are trying that. Like the Cloud Surfer lineup does make sense, where you got your like On Cloud Surfer Next, which is your lightweight train to the lighter version. You got the On Cloud Surfer, which is kind of the flagship. Then you got the Cloud Surfer Max, which is just I'm just kidding. But it's supposed to be that like more, it's supposed to be that more. I get where they're going. It would just be nice. That makes sense. The On Cloud Boom, the Cloud Boom series, right? You got your On Cloud Boom Zone, which I really want to try.
I would love to try that shoe.
I almost got a pair on eBay and it didn't work out.
I've been looking at that shoe for like a year.
Me too.
It's got here on HF. It's a lightweight trainer. It's like everything I wanted, but I just,
It's $140 now, by the way. So I'm like, David and I might pull the trigger and finally try it, even though every time I always hear Nathan in my head when I'm like about ready to pull the trigger.
Like, don't do it.
Don't do it. Like, is it actually gonna get that many views? Like, come on, like, is this really worth art? And so, and Bach, but Nathan and Bach are both talking in my head going, Matt.
Well, just the practical side of it. Like if it's been out for a year, and
it hasn't done that well, like review wise. And, but like the Cloud Boom makes sense, right? So the Cloud Boom Zone is like their racing lightweight trainer. You got the On Cloud Boom Echo, which there's kind of more standard. The On Cloud Boom Strike, which is supposed to be that more marathon, long distance stuff. That makes sense. And then they got the two different spikes, the middle and long distance spike.
They're getting
things
there.
Are starting to get there. And I say this bias, please bring the stability line along with On Cloud Runner, On Cloud Flyer. Like, don't forget those. But just making sure that the lineups are organized and make sense. And I think they have done a good job getting there. Just don't stop.
Maybe I think that's a tough one because they've built their name on Cloud. I feel like a lot of people consider the company name as On Cloud and not On. That's like, fair. What do you have on your feet? Oh, I have On Clouds. It's like, oh, well, like what model? Like,
On Clouds. No.
It's a tricky one because On Cloud is in the name of every single shoe, right? And so I think that also kind of makes it a little muddy versus like when you look at other companies, it's like Nike X, Nike or Asics this or whatever. So I don't know, but again, delineation, it's a little muddy. All right. We're going to stay in Europe here. We're going to Germany. So we got one or two companies this could be. You know who it is?
I don't know which one you're going to do first.
We're going to go with Adidas.
Okay. Got it. All right, man. I have some thoughts. Adidas, like in high school, those were my race of the Avantis were my OG, I will forever, just like I'm holding now a shrine for the Hyperion GTS series, have shrine forever with the Adidas Adizero Tempo series. And,
the Tempo would be kind of cool to come back.
Shout out to the OGs that know that what the Aegis also is that was another lightweight stability shoe out there. And they had like the Adidas Adizero Mana, which was actually a stability racing shoe, which was really awesome, and a couple other variations. But anyway, so what they are doing really well is without even using they keep their stuff under wraps. And so it looks like some kind of like TPU foam is a lot of the stuff that the Light Strike Pro is. And the Adios Pro 4 has made a massive improvement in terms of performance. The Adios Pro 3 was great. It was stable, but it was not the fastest shoe. I think the Adios Pro 4 made a really big jump forward in some ways. Unfortunately, it made a jump backwards in terms of stability. And that might be a big complaint about the whole Adizero line is none of them are that stable. So it kind of limits what we can do in that realm. But I feel like performance-wise, they're doing good. They're a little bit fractured, though. So I think their performance is obviously second to none, right? That's why a lot of people are wearing them at the top. They're doing great.
That's the third company that you've said is second to none.
Yeah, but it's like, it's great, right? So, but the problem is, I feel like I am very confused oftentimes with what they're doing, and it feels like things are really fractured. So like the Adios line, or the Adizero line makes sense, right? You have a lot of shoes in that line. The Boston's lightweight trainer, which I would love to, we still haven't gotten to try version 13. They forgot about us on that one. And the Prime X is like the crazy super trainer. Every company's got one. Adios Pro 4 is your like classic marathon, half marathon, like do it all racer. The Takumi Sen is now getting a little more legit. It's still like that under the radar shoe that doesn't get talked about a lot. And then people had no idea that the audio still exists. And the newest version's like the only one of the only lightweight minimal trainer or like racing shoes out there beside the Streak Fly, but it's like totally different. So there's a lot of shoes, but only a few of them get like a lot of like talked about, like the Adidas Pro 4 is like the biggest one of all those. Then you go over their trainers and it's just confusing. It's better than it was, but I still feel like the trainers are not getting a lot of love. And to be honest, that's where people are going to spend most time. I really loved the Solution 2, and it was a big surprise. It was a personal purchase. They don't usually seed us the trainers. And the Rise was okay, but the Solution was even better as a mild lightweight stability shoe, but it feels more lightweight. If you go into the Puma, like they all look basically the same, and it's not that different, just like slightly heavier and a little bit more awkward. So again, the trainers need a little bit more love. And the other thing is like some of the geometries in the trainers, like you gotta like just be careful. Like their bevel's so massive posteriorly, it does work, but like this amount of posterior flare, like you don't need this. Like that's just extra weight. Yes, I can see some of the people in the biomechanics lab going, yeah, it like lengthens the stance phase because they land earlier, but that's not what you want. You want a shorter stance phase because then people are moving quicker, and that's a little bit better. And if you have a large posterior flare, you're going to land early. So I feel like the two things are like really getting the trainer line going, but also overall, I feel like Adidas is also one of the less stable companies out there. Like they love their midfoot cutouts and all that kind of stuff. So I think I know they are working on trying to bring their trainers a little bit more forward, and that they know that some of that stuff was confusing, but I think there needs to be some better communication between the Adidas, like your Dream Strike type shoes and like really solidifying the trainers, and then your Adi Zero line and making sure everything kind of makes sense and has like a purpose to the consumer. Whereas for me, to be honest, if I could get my hands on a Boston, that'd probably be the main thing I'd use as the training shoe and then go with the rest of the Adidas line. And I might not even know, because these aren't advertised very well, that the Solution of the Rise or the Prima are really that strong out there. They're solid shoes, but they just don't get a lot of attention. So a little confusion there.
Yeah, I feel like we're just agreeing way too much, man. This is... No, we're good. That's good.
Yeah.
With the Adidas shoes, so this is mostly like in the Adi Zero lineup for me. I think they've done an excellent job of their outsoles and keeping weight down. I feel like that light traction that they did on the Adidas Pro 4, like it's
Killer.
so sticky. Yeah, it's so sticky and it's lightweight and it works just so well. And I feel like they're onto something as far as weight reduction goes. And other companies are starting to catch up, right? We've seen the Asics Metaspeed Ray. But like, and even the Mizuno Prototype Pure, I think, is pretty light too. Not that I would know anything about numbers on that, but
people have advertised it's 137 grams, right, on social media. I don't remember what exactly
it's supposed to be crazy light. Yeah. But holding it is really light.
Yeah.
But I do feel like they've done a really good job of kind of sticking to their guns. It's like, we're going to get this thing as light as possible. Maybe other foams are maybe a little bit better for certain things or whatever. Like, I feel like I've had mixed experiences with Light Strike Pro, but I do feel like the one thing that is consistent is their Adi Zero line gets lighter and lighter, and they kind of keep pushing the boundaries on that. So that is, I think I give them a lot of credit for, especially on the outsole side of it, because that's usually the complaint that you hear is that rubber weighs, a certain amount of weight, and like, it's hard to get that down.
And they consistently crush durability. The durability of their shoes has been fantastic across both lines, across both trainers and racers. It's been awesome.
Yeah, and then my only thing that I think is the worst thing doing is the awareness of the training line. For pretty much every company in the industry, I could probably name you just about every trainer they got, and Adidas is one of the companies, the few ones. I don't think I could tell you all of the trainers they have. Not saying they're bad shoes. They don't really market their trainers super well. I don't really know which thing falls in which category unless there's a little bit of hype around it, like let's say with the Adi Zero Evo SL, right? Like popular shoe. A lot of people like it. Like I know it exists.
Totally forgot about that shoe. Shoot. Yep. All right.
Right. Yeah. Like, and then the Boston. Boston's been around forever. We know the Boston.
Yeah.
Don't need to look it up, right? You hear new Boston comes out, like, oh, got it. I know, lightweight trainer. But other than that, like they've changed so much throughout the years, right? They had the Supernova line, then they didn't, then they had the Glide, and then they didn't, then they had the Solar Glide, then they had like it's just changed so much over the years. I don't know what's what anymore. And it's really confusing even for me. And I think if it's confusing for me, I can't imagine what it's like for someone who knows little about shoes and is going into a store trying to buy things. So that might be the most muddy of training lines. Like I don't know. I don't know if I can name 5 trainers right now.
Can you name 3?
5. Yeah, I can name 3.
What are they?
I just said 3.
Oh, okay. No, it not in the Adizero line.
Oh, like taking the Evo SL out and then taking the Boston
out?
13
Can
out?
you name their other trainers?
Yeah, see. Oh gosh. Okay, so
I said them earlier, so we'll see if you
there's
remember.
a Supernova Rise that they brought back.
Yeah.
See, the solution I didn't know existed until you bought it.
Yeah. I didn't know that either.
And
to
then
be fair.
And same thing with the Prima.
Yeah, great. There's another one.
But again, I didn't know they existed though at all.
There is one more that's not in the Supernova line that I cannot remember. I can see it, but I cannot remember it to save my life because I bought it in the past and it was a brick, and I don't remember what it's called.
Yeah.
So
there's obviously the Ultra Boost that still exists. And
and I totally forgot Ultra Boost, which is kind of a weird situation where it's a halfway decent running shoe. It's like half fashion, have
yeah.
But
it's still a decent running shoe. I didn't, especially the Ultra Boost when they went to the Ultra Boost Lite.
Yeah, that was
that model was
shoe.
actually good. Yeah, I actually did like that a lot. So
and then they kind of moved away from it. But
yeah,
the training lineup definitely needs the Solution series or the Supernova series if they're going to bring that back to the other ones. Like you got to give that some love because that's honestly what most people should be spending their time in. They shouldn't be spending all their time in Adizero. It's not what Adizero is originally meant for. I mean, the Evo SL and the Boston are getting some serious love and they are great shoes, or at least I think the Boston 13 is a great shoe. I haven't tried it. But just need some love for the trainers.
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to go for one more here. We're kind of coming up on time, but we're going to stay in Germany. So the other company that is also out there is the Big Cat Energy of Puma.
Got it.
What do we think about Puma? Pros, cons, what do we got?
I think of all companies, they've made the largest. Like we talk about On kind of being new to the scene, but like Puma just disappeared. And I am not speaking negatively, but when I was working in running stores, they tried to come back with the Foss line, and everybody's like, "What is this? Like, are we supposed to take you seriously on this?" And then they went quiet. And I think their recent the recent stuff that's come out in the last few years has really showed that they are very serious about their performance. Like people have been asking about the Velocity Nitro 4. Andrew and I have it. It's a really solid shoe. It's not quite stable enough for me, so I'm struggling with that a little bit, but like super lightweight, awesome midsole foam, just a nice simple shoe, all the way up to the Mag Max, to the, like, I think the Fast R, even though it's not appropriate, Andrea, that's her shoe of the year, racing shoe of the year. It's super aggressive. It may have irritated my post tip, but they're trying some really cool stuff. And as a fairly new, like a new returner to running, it's very cool to see what they're doing and how aggressive they're being. Like if not for the Kayano, the Forever Run Nitro might have been, did I say it right? Kayano, I said it wrong. Somebody's going to be keeping a counter of this for every one of our episodes, but that's fine. The Kayano.
That could be like a drinking game. Like how many times
don't do that.
Klein mispronounced Kayano.
Gosh, what was I talking? The Forever Run Nitro 2 is a really solid shoe and it's the upper still needs a little work, but it was a massive improvement. One of my top stability shoes of the year. It's great. And now I remember where I was going. I think performance wise, they've made some really big improvements very quickly. I think one of the challenges for them outside of the Forever Run Nitro 2 is that some of their shoes are getting so aggressive that they may not be appropriate for everyone. Like the Fast R3 is definitely a tool for a very unique group. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think the Outfly is not that different, although everybody loves that shoe. I just don't forget about inherent stability. And I think that's where outside of the Forever Run 2, a lot of shoes and maybe the Mag Max as well, a lot of their shoes kind of get a little rough handle with, just because they're some of the lightest shoes on the market, some of the most aggressive shoes on the market, and there are sacrifices that have to be made. And a lot of that times midfoot's super narrow. There's a lot of medial bias in a lot of these shoes. And so just be careful with your geometries and where you're taking things, because especially when people fatigue, not everybody like that. You don't need to make every shoe a stability shoe, but there should be some inherent stable components to it without making it excessively a stability shoe or biased in ways. So just be careful with that. A lot of the shoes that I've tried from them been very medially biased recently. So the Magnify, the the Velocity 4 for sure, which I'm trying to get miles on. The Fast R3 really has it. But yeah, just be careful with some of the geometries as you get more aggressive is probably my only caution.
Yeah, I agree. It's a tough one for me. Okay, so I did not run in much Puma this year. So I'm just going to kind of go based on what the market and the things that I see right now. Because truth be told, I've only run in the Magnify and the Deviate Nitro Elite Trail this year that I can think of off the top of my head. I don't believe I've run in another Puma shoe this year. With that said, I feel like from a material standpoint, like I feel like right now, Asics and Puma are kind of the cool kids on the block right now. Everything they're rolling out, people are super excited about. They're super lively. Like they're definitely cooking up some fun stuff, and that performance line and the training line too. Like people are really excited about what's coming down the line there.
Yep.
And I think they're doing it as good as anyone else in the market, if not better, between those two companies respectively. Like I can't think of a single company people are more excited about right now. With that said, again, I haven't run in that many this year, but I do feel like their midfoots tend to be pretty narrow. That is one thing where it's kind of a common trend I'm noticing. And I ran in the Magnify, the newest version of it this year. The foam is awesome. It's a very just plush, lightweight, bouncy foam, but it's on a pretty narrow platform. And so it's a little bit unstable. I feel like it's like the definition of like a neutral shoe that's like dancing on that unstable line, but it's not unstable enough to call it unstable. It's just not, it's on the less stable end of neutral. And I feel like you have to have very neutral mechanics to run in that shoe, but it is a really nice shoe for what it's worth. But I do feel like they kind of dance on those midfoot lines where it's a little bit narrow on a lot of the shoes I've tried. And I feel like they probably could make shoes a little bit more stable through the midfoot. Yep. But again, that's me just kind of having a personal bias there. Yep. And I can't really speak on a quote unquote worsts that much because I just haven't run in their shoes that much. I see you're holding something there. I can see the shoe just kind of touching the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, we have technically 2 more that we do need to get to.
We got 3 more on my list. You want to keep going? We're going to keep going.
Yeah, let's just do it.
We're already north of an hour, my guy. Okay.
I know we are. I am so behind on work.
This is Matt's version of procrastinating on work is doing more work with me.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what this is.
All right.
All right.
If you're gonna reference the new prototype shoes from Mizuno, we got to talk about Mizuno. So I'm gonna throw this back. What are your pros and cons about Mizuno right now?
Yeah, I think right now the pro in Mizuno is that they are the Wild West of the running shoe companies right now. And I mean that in a good way. I feel like they're just cooking up things like crazy. Like it's not even like Asics and Puma, you can feel a direction on it.
Yeah.
Mizuno is just like, here's a bunch of new shoes. Like well, this is like we're literally calling this Neo, like Zen, Neo Vista. Like this is like a new chapter for Mizuno. It's like what Reebok did years ago when they just started just ripping through these new shoes. And it was like, and they were good shoes, right? Like, and these are good shoes. I don't mean to say I mean a Wild West in a good way. And they're coming out with all kinds of crazy stuff. And then you've got the prototype line of shoes coming down as well. And they're just playing with stuff, man. I think all of the shoes that I've tried of this new wave of Mizuno have all been good shoes. And I think they're experimenting in the most fun of ways right now. And they don't really have much to lose, right? Like they don't have this, I don't know. Yeah.
I will say the new rider was pretty crazy to me that it just went from the firm shoe to now one of the softer daily trainers out there, which is crazy to me to be like, wow, this is bouncy, soft, responsive. that you guys are willing to try stuff, and I'm really holding on, hoping the Inspire like really moves forward, because the 21 was kind of that classic, like, yeah, it's a Mizuno shoe, it's high drop, which is not bad, but just not responsive, clunky, and kind of hasn't been. But like knowing what they're cooking up is like, oh, this is like, you get excited for this stuff. So yeah. Anyway, sorry, not to interrupt you.
No, I think that's good. I think it was actually great that you brought that up, because the one thing I have on the negative side is that they are steering the ship away from their traditionals, and for better or for worse, right? Mm-hmm. Like the Wave Rider has been kind of this firmer, high drop, very traditional feeling shoe forever, right? Like you knew exactly what you were buying with the Wave Rider. You knew exactly what you were buying, like let's say with the Brooks, oh my gosh, I was thinking this. Ghost or Glycerin, like, and now we're kind of entering this new era of these companies where like some of them are starting to take that step forward. But I feel like the Wave Rider has taken bigger leaps than, let's say, the Ghost or the Glycerin respectively have. And it's more flexible. The foam is really soft and bouncy. It still feels like a Wave Rider just enough to still call it a Wave Rider to me, but it's like, it feels like it's a different shoe.
Yep.
And I feel like that's where my heartstrings are getting pulled, because I think of like Wave Rider 23. I think of like other Wave Rider 25. Like I've multiple shoes that I just like loved in the Wave Rider series. And it's a bittersweet thing for me to see the company evolving like this. And I almost wish that they kept the Wave Rider a little bit more Wave Rider-y and then just went bonkers on the Neo line. But I don't know. It's good. It's probably for the better in the long run here. But I do feel like for the people that are very traditional like they know what to expect out of their Wave Rider, their Wave Inspire, like those shoes are just going to change. They're changing. Yep. That's what's happening. So you can see it happening in lifetime, and it's exciting, but it's also a little bit, nerve-wracking at the same time if it's a shoe that you really love.
I would definitely agree with that. So like really quick, I would say one of the positives is from being one of the most consistent, and I'm going to say this, boring companies out there, to now being the total wild card. They are more wild than anybody else out there. The stuff they're willing to try and throw out, it's just like, whoa, where it's just, It's so the Neo Vista was a great example of this. The Neo Vista 2, they're like, screw it, we're just going to put more stack height. We're going to make this taller, crazier. Forget it, right? We're going to be the first ones to obviously create the Rebellion Pro and be like, forget your rules. And we're going to like crazy geometries has been like really fun. And just seeing everything evolve and grow and going, hey, let's push this and see what happens. Their prototype line is another example of this. We're like, hey, I can't talk about it, but like they're trying something very different that hasn't been done for a while, and it's really cool to see. That said, without spilling too much beans, I feel like they're also really extreme. Like you have, and this has been an issue previously, where their training line is kind of set up one way, and then you go to their racing line and it's so aggressively different that there's not really a connection there. Like, it like, without giving too much about what the Proto Series is, like I remember back in the day, and this is the same issue where they'd have the Rider, the Inspire, all these shoes that were 12 millimeter drop, and then all the racing shoes were like 4.
They were.
And you're like, dude, trying to transition between those if you were sticking with the brand,
they were was so aggressive
really
on their flats,
hard. And so I think their protos have gone the exact same way with like, especially with the ones that you like, the Pure and stuff like that. Like they're super aggressive, and then you have your trainers, which are really different. Like all the trainers are super max stack. There's not a lot of stuff that's moderate stack height. It's their tall, big, bouncy, like they're all going that direction. And then you're going to go to the racing line, which is going to be completely different. And so like if somebody wants to likes the company and transition between them, it does make that really hard. Going from the Neo Vista to some of the racing shoes, especially with an Achilles issue right now, like has been a little challenging. And maybe this is me, complaining, but it would nice to have some consistency in geometries between some of the stuff, but Mizuno hasn't usually done that, but they're wild. I'm also, I got to give a shout out. The Neo Vista 2 has become my favorite shoe, especially as I'm getting through the Achilles issue. It's one of the few trainers that came out this year that doesn't have a heel counter. I don't know how hard this is. And they actually did a good job. As it's broken in, the shoe's held up really well, and it doesn't piss my Haglund deformity off. So,
That's
Thank
a
you
nice
for
one
doing that.
too for people that like volume.
Yeah.
That was one of those shoes
And
where they're like, "You want volume? We'll give you volume."
Yeah. They're like,
You know, like you don't have anything to worry
yeah,
about here.
don't worry. We'll throw everything at this. It's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a fun shoe.
All right.
All right, we'll get on to the next one. You're holding up the Saucony Triumph. So coming back to the United States here. Yeah, what do you got?
Oh my gosh, we have two companies in the Boston area that we're going to have to finish up. So I guess we'll do Saucony first. So
This
what do
was
you
you're
think?
doing.
I'm going to throw it back at you. Positives and negatives for Saucony.
Okay. My positive and my negative are the same thing.
Oh,
Foams.
okay.
I feel like Saucony has some good foams that they've got in that lab there.
Yeah.
I think Increditrun is very fun. You know, I think Power Run HG was phenomenal. What happened to it in the Endorphin Elite 1, right? Like we saw it there and then it vanished.
There is some actually in the Endorphin Pro 4.
There is?
Yeah, there's a top layer of it encased in the Power Run PB.
In the Power Run PB?
Yes.
In the 4?
Yeah.
I don't know how I missed that.
And in version 5, apparently they're continuing. How they continue, I have no idea because we haven't tried it. And then rumor on the street is that the Endorphin Speed 6 might have
these are all rumors.
Power Run HGH. Yeah, I know. Just like the Tempest 3.
Anyways, but I like that the Power Run Plus is coming into the Ride series. You know, I think that was a really nice foam that they had, but it felt like it was like a durable, nice foam for the flagship. It didn't feel like the premium foam of like the industry. You know what I mean? Where like that would be the Triumph, right?
Yep.
Where it was always in the Triumph, but not in the Ride. So I think they've just had a hard time getting some of these foam offerings to the consumer in a way that makes sense. And I think that is where I'm juggling with Saucony right now. Truth be told, you know, like this year they had a little bit less releases. I have just seen a little bit less Saucony shoes than I'm used to seeing as well. There could be some bias there unintentionally, but I like where they're going with the Power Run Plus offerings being into more the normal lineup. I'd like to see it kind of make its way maybe into the guide. And make that just a normal thing and not in the Hurricane. And then maybe the HG find a way, or PB, to incorporate that. Well, I guess they did start incorporating PB as well now in the premium lines. So that makes sense. But it feels very just staggered. And I feel like HG has now been out for 3 years and I've barely seen it. And I feel like their foams can be kind of phantomy sometimes. Like, they exist here and there and they kind of just put them together. And then like sometimes you see it and sometimes you don't. And there's not really great reasoning for either, at least on the other end, you know, when you're a consumer looking at it. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm struggling with this a little bit because I see the long-term stuff. I know that they're taking not a slower, but they're
methodical about it.
They're more methodical now with their releases, which again allows for some consistency, which I totally get. By the way, I'm trying to think of Saucony's. How do I say this? I've been thinking about this all day and been really challenged. In like
Saucony was a weird
negative.
one for me.
Yeah, I don't know how to explain this. Maybe it might also be another thing where like the models seem to be shifting so much. I know we talk about evolving this stuff, but like the speed was a completely different shoe. The durability was not very good, and I ripped that off. I did it's like, so maybe here's what the positive about and negative about Saucony. It's very like I love the shoe, and then there's always a big negative about it. Like the speed, the durability was not good, but I loved that it actually created this like almost mild stability effect in the rear foot, which also didn't work for a lot of people. And it got a lot softer. It was like, there's a lot of, I love this and I also hate this. The Endorphin Elite 2, I love how bouncy that thing is. I hate how unstable it is. It's just like, I got 100 miles on it, but it's not a shoe I could ever take for racing because my deep hip rotators get flared up almost every time I use it for anything longer. The Endorphin Pro took forever broke in, but man, I love that shoe. And then the heel came off. So it's a lot of like, I love this, but then I also don't. So like extreme. And so I don't know how to fix that because they're doing fine with their geometries. The foams, like you said, they're coming out. The uppers are doing okay. It just seems like there's a lot of like kind of stuff going on. And I don't know how to put into words with this. I think they've got solid shoes. I don't think they get as much attention as they often deserve, which is a big issue, but they make great shoes. It's just they kind of like seem to like, I don't know how to describe this.
I feel like Saucony
that was not helpful at all. People comment below that was terrible, and I need to do a better job.
It's all good.
It was bad. It's getting late, but
this is your doing, man.
I don't know how to put my finger on this. And to be honest, I think New Balance is in the same situation.
Yeah, so New Balance is the last company on the list, so we'll go right into it.
Yeah, same thing. They've got some solid shoes, but none of them are like the top of the top. And New Balance has got a lot of stuff out there. They're getting a little bit better with their naming a little bit. But so like they've got a fresh foam series and things like that. That's making a little more sense. They've kind of somewhat moved away from some of the numbering. The 860 is a solid shoe. It's definitely not sexy, but it's great to have a solidly wedged shoe. The 880 is boring, but a great stable shoe that I think a lot of people are going to do well of. It's like a Hoka, like what the Clifton maybe should have been, but like, the SC Elite version 5 has been a top long run shoe for me, even though it shouldn't be. It has been. It's great. But just like performance wise, I think just not on the top. That again, fairly level, kind of like Saucony, where it's like this nice level playing field. But sometimes the changes between models are a little confusing. You're like, whoa, that was like the Rebel was nuts. Like that's a completely different direction for that shoe. And it's like, whoa, okay. I would like to get more miles on it when my Achilles can handle a softer, low drop shoe. But yeah, I would just say where it sometimes makes sense what they're doing and sometimes it makes no sense. And there's not a ton of consistency in that. Like the SC Elite version 3, like the crazy transition, like firm beyond all belief underfoot. I think the plate is too close, but I still got 100 miles on it. So I might just be getting tired. Move on from me. Don't listen to me.
All right, I'll bring us home here.
Yeah.
But as far as the New Balance goes, I think one thing they've been doing really well recently, and I've kind of struggled with this in the past with New Balance shoes, and it might just be a me problem, but I feel like they've really nailed like their uppers and their fits this year. Like the SC Elite 5 for being a super shoe. That thing just fits like a glove. Yeah, that might be the upper of the year for the super shoes. I don't know. I got to think about it a little bit more, but that thing is solid.
Hands down, super shoe upper of the year by far.
Yeah. It fits so well. And I think of like a lot of the other shoes that have rolled out this year between the Rebel, the 880, like the 1080 upper was great too this year. So I feel like that's something that I've had a noticeable difference in the company, where in the past there's always been something weird about it, or maybe a shoe feels a little too wedgy.
Yeah.
Like with some of the previous More models. But like I got the Hierro, at the very beginning of the year. And then it was like, wow, this fits really well. And that was like the first one of the year I remember being like, this feels different than what I've felt in the past from New Balance. So that's like the big pro. I think the one thing, and I know they're working on this, but I do think, especially with fresh foam kind of being like their base lineup for a lot of their shoes, it runs a little heavy. And I feel like that's kind of been a gripe that I've had, and like everyone else, they're working on it. Like I am sure things will be lighter in the near future, but that's the one thing I kind of noticed where it's like, wow, this is a nice ride, but it feels heavy. Like where you're kind of saying like they're just not quite the top of any of the categories, but they're not the bottom by any means. They're just kind of right in the middle there on a lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
So not a bad thing, is consistent, but yeah, I feel like if some of those shoes, like especially in the fresh foam lineup, just got a little bit lighter, like that could be potential shoe of the year type trainers if they just lost a little bit, especially with how the rest of the market's looking right now.
Right. I think the other thing is some of those foams, even though sometimes like the 1080 is like one of the lightest of the premium trainers out there. The challenge with it though is that the foam is super soft and not very resilient. So there's really a lot of Mizuno shoes do not have a lot of responsiveness to them. Like they're great. What did I just say?
Mizuno.
Sorry, Mizuno different is insane. New Balance, New Balance, like comfortable, but just not very responsive. Even the SC Elite 5 is like my favorite long run shoe. Probably not a shoe that I would race in, to be honest.
Would you race a marathon in it?
I would consider racing a marathon in it because I can trust it, but it's not going to be like my PR. It's going to be like, oh, I know this is comfortable and I trust this, so I'm going to take it. Not, oh, I'm going as fast as possible. I'm going to be consistent.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end of the episode. Thank you guys for making it this far. I want to put it on the record. This is Matt's doing.
As we crash, as I crash and bomb, I'm going to get a message from people at Saucony going, what the heck are you talking about? I'm like, I'm sorry.
I was going to land this thing 20 minutes ago. But
we can't forget about Saucony New Balance.
No, of course. It wasn't forgetting. We just were getting, it was a good episode. We were cooking. We had time going. But thank you for listening to this and making it this far, whether you're watching or listening. You can continue to find us on all of our normal channels, whether that be Instagram, YouTube, the podcast on Apple, Spotify, whatever your liking is. But thank you for watching, and we hope you have a good evening or morning, whatever time of day you're listening to this.
Should I hit the stop button now?
Yeah, you should.